So Anonymous says, hey, Frankie Fihn, what is the best way to get good at fulfillment? From what I can tell, you don't teach that, but that for me is the biggest thing. Feel like a fraud not being able to consistently get clients leads. Seems like none of the marketing offer making stuff matters if you can't do the service. Vasu says, in the digital landscape, platforms such as Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and Instagram exert significant control over content, engagement, and audience. What constitutes a genuine digital asset that a business can truly own? While the website may seem like an obvious answer, its visibility often tied to Google algorithm. Thoughts? So Paul says, business model question. In the book, you talk about meetingless agencies and working within established businesses on back-end profits first. I've done both, productized services and high-touch growth consulting. Are these two different business models, or is there a way to combine the two approaches? When I work with established businesses, I have to be very hands-on and meet a lot to run a 4-day cash machine and fix back-end revenue generation. Is there a way to combine these two approaches? I'd be very interested in learning more. Shocker. If you know, you know. Let's try that again, the old shocker. If you know, you know, and you're a bad human being. Let's just say, you know what that is, you're a bad human being. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another weekly Q&A. We are talking some good stuff. You guys are growing agencies. I'm hopefully here to help out, assist with that process, help you guys succeed in that journey. I always say I never make anyone successful, but hopefully to get you there better, faster, easier, with less mistakes. And for those of you guys who haven't checked it out, I've organized somewhere around here all the ways in which we can potentially collaborate if you guys are interested in working together. So I'd say check that thing out and let's party if it makes sense. Anyways, I don't really have a big announcement. Let's get into the good stuff. Before I do, though, I got to play my dance music jam, my AI jam. Question that. Let's bring the flame. All right. So let's formalize this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. All right, cool. Let's get into the questions. We don't need to jam on it too long here, but here's what we got. First up, we got Anonymous. And just saying, whenever you guys show up as Anonymous, I assume you got no pants on. No judgment. I work without pants sometimes too. Mostly a shorts guy because I live in paradise and it's sunny all day. But hey, you got no pants on? That's the way to party. Anyways, so Anonymous says, hey, Frankie Fihn, what is the best way to get good at fulfillment? From what I can tell, you don't teach that, but that for me is the biggest thing. Feel like a fraud not being able to consistently get clients leads. Seems like none of the marketing offer making stuff matters if you can't do the service. Correct. It's a chicken or the egg thing, by the way. It's hard to dial in your service if you don't have clients to practice on, by the way. And by the way, I went a lot deeper on what makes a good fulfillment offer in version 3.0 of my book, which is written, but there is still some production things that need to happen, but that'll be coming out over the next couple of weeks for you guys. So let's talk getting good at fulfillment. And first, before we go into the strategies that I have found that work, that hopefully will work for you, I want to give you a little bit of between the ears stuff, okay? So there's actually a name for what you just described. It is called imposter syndrome, and it is the idea that who am I to do this when I don't know how to do blank, etc. And by the way, this is not something that happens like once or twice. This happens repeatedly. So even now, by the way, I still have imposter syndrome. I've been doing this 20 years, and I have friends who've built 50, even $100 million agencies. And so sometimes I think, who the fuck am I to teach running an agency when there's people who've built $100 million things that are way better than I am at this shit? And yet, here I am doing this. And the way to get past imposter syndrome is really focus on helping people, just so you know. Okay, so it's like really think about how can I help the person in front of me who really cares about all the details and whether I'm good enough or not good enough and all the things that people normally think. All right. So that's the between the ears piece, is that this is going to come up over and over and over. So let's talk, and you have to learn to not take it seriously and just help people anyway. So let's talk about fulfillment strategies, okay? So I'm going to give you 3 ways in which to massively level up in fulfillment, okay? 4 actually. Let's talk about 4 of them. So one of those is, and this is like to me one of the central questions is, are you built to be Mr. or Mrs. Fulfillment, or should you get that off off your plate? So Lane Hauk, my man, the Lane Train, calls this insource or outsource. And the question is, should you do this yourself, or should you give this to someone else? There is no harm, no shame in just giving this work to someone else. The longer I do this, the less I want to do any fulfillment at all. Jonathan Mast and I had some pretty deep conversations about this. We have graduated to I don't do any fulfillment. I just connect people with resources, right? So if you want to, we have a list of white label partners. You may want to consider a service like UpHex, which has a done-for-you library of ads that you can just connect into and simply plug that in for your clients, right? So like if that's an easy way. And there, by the way, there is no harm, there's no foul in bringing in people who can help with the piece that you are the weakest at. So there's number 1. I want to show you what I think is the biggest shortcut. And for this is a golf course, by the way. This is my hand-drawn golf course. Not super impressive drawing. So here's a dude over here. He's trying to hit the ball in here. And I want you to think of this as a metaphor for sales, any sort of high ticket sale, right? So this is a golf course. And almost always, if you've ever played golf, which, you know, I'm not a golfer, but I think the game's pretty simple, easy to understand. I've gone golfing like 3 times in my life. But if you think about any sort of high ticket sale as a golf course, it's a process to get to the hole. Often it takes like 5-6 attempts, right? So like in golf, the person may drive the ball 275 yards, and then they hit an iron, and then they get putting, and then they 2 or 3 putt to knock it in the hole, right? So if you think about a high ticket sale as that, what 99 out of 100 clients will tell you is, in order to make more money, they will tell you, I need more new strangers off the street. And I'm here to tell you, they're wrong, they're always fucking wrong. They believe that to be true, but it is not actually true. And so one of the simplest ways you can create easy, high valuable fulfillment is to work at this reverse. So I look at like here, these are complete strangers. These are like fans and followers, or maybe here. These are like subscribers or like leads that actually like are paying extra attention. Over here is people who may have actually like scheduled or requested information about buying it. Over here is people who like actually have booked in it. Over here on the green is people who like bought it in the past. And then right at the flag is people who are buying it now. And so all we do to create world-class fulfillment, I know it sounds crazy, is ignore when people tell you you do this, and you simply work the opportunities in reverse. So I'll give you a real-life example. Mark Diodati, him and I were talking, and he said he was running Facebook ads for HVAC people, and like you, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous, felt like, hey, I'm not that good at it. I know, and I want to get better at it. And so I asked him, what did you do before this? And he said, oh, I sold in HVAC for like 15 years. I said, so you worked in the industry before? And I said, were you any good? And he said, oh yeah, I was the best-selling salesperson. And I said, how did you do it? And he said, well, it's really simple. Like if you're over here delivering quotes for people, you convert about 3 out of 10 of those people. And what happens is, of those like 10 people you give a quote to, 3 of them buy now, and 7 of them, most salespeople just let go and never hear from them again. He said, I would call them back a week later and just say, was it price? Was it money? Is there anything we could do? Could we finance it? Could I talk to my boss about the price? And he would say, I would win 1 or 2 of them back. Okay? And so everybody else closed 3 out of 10. He closed 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. And that made him the best salesperson in the company for like years and years and years. My question was like, Mark, why can't you just do that for other HVAC agencies? Why do you got to be over here trying to drive the ball 450 yards to strangers when there's people who are like 90% of the way up the fairway? Think about it. They saw an ad. They clicked it. They went to the website. They maybe even read some Google reviews. They picked up the phone. They called you. They requested a salesperson. They met with the salesperson. Often talked to them for like 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes, and then they still didn't buy. Does that mean that person is a no forever? No. So what we simply did is, let's follow up with those people. So we created a service called Let's Follow Up with the People Who Didn't Buy and Close It. By the way, we're doing something similar to this in the real estate business right now, where we're just following up with people who said no. Crazy, right? So anyways, that is one of the ways to get magically good at fulfillment, is just get out of the cold lead business and get into the I'll do more follow-up with the people who almost bought. Sounds simple, but I'm telling you, like, you'll create bitchin' awesome services. Like, for one of the things we did for years, I called it digital omnipresence. It was just like a really big retargeting campaign. Big personal injuries lawyers spend a lot of money on traffic, don't convert most of it. We're like, hey, let's follow up with some of it for you. So that is another way to get good at fulfillment. Another thing that I want to suggest to you, if you want to get really good at fulfillment, what most people look to is getting better at media buying. Need to get cheaper ads, need to get more clicks. I'm not saying those things don't work, but I find if you think about creating a better offer, you're going to do better with it. So for example, we got a guy in the dental industry, and this is most dental offers as they exist right now. Come in for a consultation. That's the offer. Not really much to it, right? So we decided, like, come in for an offer and you will get. And I forget what the actual thing was, but let's just say, like, you get some sort of treatment for whatever. And here's the thing that we did. And you can do this with any offer, does not matter the industry, is you simply add a bonus. So this person said, I don't know what I would offer. And most people are in a box when it comes to bonuses. They think you can only offer stuff that is your exact service. And so what we did is we went there and we said, I went to a little website, which I've used previously in the past, called Cameo, and we found an athlete in there. Cameo, by the way, has like tons of like famous athletes and movie stars and musicians and stuff like that. And what they'll do is they'll make a personalized video for you for like 5 or 10 minutes, and they'll usually do it for like $100 or whatever. And in this case, we found somebody who was famous in the area as this was in the UK, so they were a footballer, a soccer player for us people on this side of the pond. And we said, let's include that as a bonus for the dental treatment. Now, how much better do you think that offer is going to be? Come in for a dental treatment for $199. Come in for a dental treatment for $199. And the first 3 people get a customized video from the famous footballer, right? So you can do shit like this, is my point. It's like you can take like their boring ass fucking shit and enhance it. And one of the easiest things I've seen luxury real estate sold by, they struggle to get people to show up to the open house. So they simply said, we'll give you a $20 Starbucks gift card if you come to the damn open house. Amazing, right? How many people that suddenly gets, right? So you can enhance like boring ask services with that. So I don't know. Those are my 3 biggest shortcuts. I said 4, but I'm blanking on what the 4th one was, is find somebody who already knows how to do it and simply bring them in. And it's totally okay if you don't do any of your own fulfillment. 2, figure out what you can do that's closer to the hole. Why sell hard to sell shit over here when, in Mark's case, all he's got to do is call them back and go, hey, was it price? Is there anything we can do to win you back? Oh, yeah, it was price. Okay, let me talk to my boss and see what I can do. Here, lo and behold, they got a sale. That's a 5-minute fucking conversation that can be done over text with an AI bot. It doesn't even have to be a person. Or get better at making offers. And this is a 2-way street. Part of the reason we talk about your offers, the better you are at making your own offers, the better you are going to get making client offers. And I'm telling you, the easiest way to take a boring local business offer and make it sexy, even though it's not, is just add in some bonuses. And by the way, these are super easy to get. Like, you can contact almost anybody and say, like, say you're contact a massage parlor. What do you guys normally pay for ads to bring somebody in? Oh, we normally spend $100. Would you be willing, instead of paying for ads to get somebody in the door, would you be willing to give away a $100 gift certificate to our people? And we'll send you our people? Yes, we would. Okay, cool. Can I bonus in a free massage with our dental thing? Yes, you can. Now all of a sudden it's like, it's enhanced. Get a Starbucks gift card, you get a massage, you get the famous footballer. Use your imagination, put some bonuses in there. Otherwise, what most people try and do is they try and get better at the technical side of ads. And I'm not saying that, or the technical side of SEO. I'm not saying that it doesn't have a value. It does. But man, if you figure out how to sell shit to the person on the other side, you're going to do way better than if you're better at the technical side of it. So there is a need for both, but I think it's like 80% psychology and like 20% technology. And most people place the emphasis on the small part. I see this all the time where if somebody has ads not working and the ads aren't working, the general feedback is try scaling it only 20% a day. You duplicate your winners and technical solutions instead of just write a better fucking ad by making a better offer. Sounds simple, but again, like nobody does this shit. So those are my hacks for fulfillment. And just so you know, there is an element of like you're gonna have to figure this stuff out imperfectly, right? Like I just really want to talk about that mindset piece. Like the idea that you're just gonna be a master at your fulfillment on day one is not generally how it works. But in the beginning, by the way, like I don't think enough people understand this. It's okay to tell clients, like, I'm still figuring this out as I go. Here's what I want to do for you. By the way, the more experienced clients know that to be true anyway. You know what I'm saying? The more experienced clients know that to be true anyway. They've tried stuff and they know not everything you do in marketing works out, certainly not on the first attempt. So if you're just upfront about that fact and have a contingency of like, hey, if I'm able to do this, this will be the result. If I can't, here's how I'm going to make it right. Like they're usually like pretty okay with it. Way more than most marketers realize, by the way. You can go to a complete stranger and say, hey, I want to try some shit and I'm not 100% sure it'll work, but I'm pretty sure it'll work. Would you be down to try it? And they're like, yeah, that's totally cool. Ask me how I know, by the way. This is how we get big partnerships. Just, you know, I get like big partnerships and I just say, hey, I got this cool idea. I'm not sure it's going to work, but are you down to try it and find out? Because I think if we do, this may happen. And they go, yeah, I'm down to try it. That's it. That's how you get a partnership. So anyways, I hope that is helpful, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous, who is wearing no pants. Let's talk. Our man Rich says, Frankie had a phone call today with a potential collaboration partner, followed the process, offered to help with what they're already doing on their LinkedIn and or page, told me they got an in-house team and don't need any help. I made sure they knew it was free and would support their mission, said I can offer up some fresh ideas for their weekly newsletter or whatever they need. They were extremely nice about it, but didn't go for anything. They got other platforms that are basically dead. No recent activity at all. I considered offering to revive their Instagram for them, but decided it wasn't the right move as it doesn't fit in with what they're already doing. Just wondering if you have got any tips for we got it covered, got an in-house marketing team kind of objection. Yeah, so just so you know, I read a book back in the day called Upstream, and you can probably see it there. It's one of the blue ones right there. I think it's that one. And Upstream talks about any sort of recurring problem you have in life or business. You're experiencing the symptom level of it, but it's happening before that. So objection handling for a lot of years, I learned scripts and say the magic line, and all of that doesn't address the real reason it's happening. The real reason it's happening, by the way, is because in your particular case, they're just not really clear on what you're going to do and what it's going to benefit them. So you're trying to convince them to do it. Here's, by the way, the difference, just so you know. And the answer is, by the way, in preparation. So, for example, when I was trying to win over some of the influencers in the 90-day challenge, I remember going to some of the restoration people, and I noticed some of their social stuff was just really bad. Like I think of one of them in particular who they had a YouTube channel. They published hundreds of videos, and the video were like TC Expo 2025, and then the thumbnails were like boring as shit of just like two people talking with a microphone, right? And so I realized they needed some thumbnails. So I don't go to them and try and sell them on the idea of, do you need thumbnails? Do you want thumbnails? This is a mindset that like takes some practice. But when you are an employee or in that poor and little middle class mindset, other people generally give you permission to do shit, right? So like, for example, like if you want to get hired at a job, you can't just go like, I'm your fucking candidate. You have to like wait till they give you permission. If you want to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, you got to go to school. Somebody's got to give you a certificate and like whatever, like there's a license and, you know, shit like that. So we're set up in a world where other people like constantly like tell you when you're ready. I'm here to tell you entrepreneurship don't work like that at all. So in my case, what that meant is I don't message the person and say, hey, like, can I be your thumbnail person? Because they'll just say no. I don't even say, I have an idea for your thumbnail. If I'm trying to get a partner, I just fucking do it. So I went on Canva, I took 5 minutes, I created some cool thumbnail templates, and I messaged them and said, hey, like I was just dicking around with your stuff. And I noticed that like none of your YouTube thumbnails are any good for you guys to like get all the visibility and traffic and shit you want. So I just made them. Give you another example, okay? Another association. I noticed they were trying to sell an event. And in doing so, what I noticed with them trying to sell an event is they just made a post and said, we got an event, come to it. Well, I'm like, I've put on events in different industries in the past, and I know that if you want to sell an event, like more posts equal better, right? Like the more times you talk about your event, takes on average 26, 2 and a 6, 26 times for an event to sell. So they made one post. Like I'm sure they signed up a few people because it was a warm audience, but probably not very many. So I went to ChatGPT and said, hey, can you sketch out 30 days worth of posts for this event? And give me some ideas of what we could talk about. And it said, like, well, you can do the testimonials. You can talk about, like, what the different speeches are. You can talk about who's going to be there. You can talk about, like, different, like, connections they're going to make. You can talk about, like, flying there, getting in there, the food, etc. And so it, like, mapped out 30 days. And I said, okay, write the first post, write the second. And I just went through one by one. Took about 10 minutes. And I created the entire, like, here's your fucking entire event for the year. Or for the month, rather. And then I put those in a Google Doc, and then I sent them to him and said, I just made it. So this is a term one of my mentors described. He called it the benevolent dictator. And there is a tendency, because we come from this poor and middle class programming, to think you have to show up and ask for permission to do shit. And I'm here to tell you that you just do the shit, ask no one's permission, and show up as the benevolent dictator saying, I did this thing for you. Now, what I do to do this intelligently is I try and limit it to shit that like moves the needle for them that takes me 5 or 10 minutes. So like 10 minutes of dicking around with ChatGPT, 5 minutes of dicking around with Canva. I don't have an unlimited amount of time. So I say that to you because part of the reason that you failed in that endeavor, from what it sounds like in the conversation, is that you were asking their permission to do something instead of just fucking doing it. And so the difference between getting accepted in those scenarios and not getting accepted is 5 minutes or 10 minutes of prep work. There's a huge difference between, hey, any way I can help you out? That's like level 1. Level 2 is, I have some ideas to help you out. And level 3 is, hey, I saw you guys were trying to sell your event, and so I just wrote all the posts for you to sell your event. I know you got a team, so here's the stuff. You guys don't have to use any of it, but if you like it, go feel free to incorporate this. I made it so you guys don't have to do the work, and you can schedule it all in advance, and it's cool content, and people will dig it. Let me know, right? Right? So there is a tendency to think you got to ask for permission. This is why I don't really teach like partnerships and stuff, and I do a lot more just showing people how to run traditional agencies, because they're advanced and there's like a lot of little nuances like that. But like, stop asking for permission and start fucking just like, in a benevolent way, taking what's yours, but being helpful and serving them. If you ask them, is there anything I can do for you? They're going to say no. If you say, I got some ideas for you, they may take those. They may not always, if they have a team and they feel like there's a conflict. If you just do it for them, they'll use it and they'll like it, just so you know. And even if they don't use it, they'll see a benefit to it. So anyways, I hope that's helpful, because shoe stores are a little advanced, my dude. And that's why I don't usually recommend them for like an agency first starting out. But having said that, like, you know, it's growth on steroids, because you in essence, like, compare it to this. People in our industry underestimate the value of endorsement. They try and pursue sales instead of pursuing endorsement. But for example, like, imagine you're trying to raise money for your business, and Warren Buffett goes on TV and says, I'm investing in, you know, your business, and I think you should too. Well, you're going to go from struggling to raise capital to like literally the next day you're going to have billions lined up for you. Literally fucking billions. All because Warren Buffett said to do it. In every industry, there are people who have that sort of level of influence on the industry, and they're not famous, and they're not hard to reach, and they're not difficult to have conversations with. But in order to actually win them over, you have to serve their agenda first, and you got to help them, and you got to do shit. And then what happens is, inevitably, they turn it back to you, and their endorsement like carries massive weight in their industry. If the guy who runs the big fucking conference says you should buy Rich's shit, or whoever, you know, whatever your shit is you're trying to sell, you're going to sell a shit ton of it. But this, like I said, this is generally why I don't teach this as step one. It's just it's a little complex. It just is how it is. It's like it's not like super simple and straightforward. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Our man Vasu says, has anyone here ever ran a service where you run the ads as a single nationwide service connecting clients to providers, and then 2, received and vetted leads, and then 3, sold them providers at a fixed cost? Considering going that route, seems like it would be a sticky service to keep providers if you're handling them well vetted and qualified leads and eliminating their need to filter through hundreds of unqualified leads each month. In the digital landscape, platforms such as Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and Instagram expect significant control over content, engagement, and audience. What constitutes that's a two-parter. Okay, sorry, I forgot to put a name, so I'm reading 2 questions there. Let me break that up. So part 1 is, I missed the name here. Has anyone ever ran a service where you run the ads as a single nationwide service, connecting clients to providers, received and vetted the leads, sold them your providers at a fixed cost? Considering going that route, seems like it would be a sticky service to keep providers if you're handing them well vetted and qualified leads and eliminating their need to filter through hundreds of unqualified leads each month. Yes, and there is a simple name for that. It is called pay per lead. And pay per lead has been around for a long time, just so you know. And obviously you're doing like a qualified pay per lead, which is obviously like super valuable to people. Here's the one thing I would tell you about pay per lead, because I did it a while back, that I wish I knew like 12, 13, 14 years ago. You ready? You still have to know how to pick the clients. So even though pay per lead is like easier to sell because you're saying like, I'll just bring you people that are qualified. So Dan and I experimented this where in the beginning we were really struggling to get SEO clients. And we had the idea, pay per lead wasn't even a formalized thing, but we're like, we know how to build websites. We know how to rank them. In those days, websites ranked above like Google Business Place and Maps as you kind of see it now. And so we could get like number 1 rankings on our own. We're like, why don't we just like, instead of trying to convince a painter to sign up, why don't we just build a fucking painting website, rank it, we'll get number 1 for painting, and then when the phone calls come in, we'll rent the phone calls. And if we want to do some, lead filtering or whatever, that's more of a rank and rent, but there's a lot of overlap between that and pay per lead. And so we did stuff like roofing and painting and, home services kind of stuff. And what we found is in the beginning, I didn't know how to pick clients like 13, 14 years ago. And so we still had the same problem. Like we would send people fucking qualified leads, red fucking hot from Google, and they would still take a month to call people back, and they didn't know what to do and they didn't know what to say. And therefore every lead was bad. Even the most fucking, like the person would go, hey, I need someone to fix my roof right now. I have insurance. Please get here right now. And that person would take a day and a half to get back to them. And then they wouldn't answer and they'd go, it's a bad lead. It's a bad lead. And so you still have to know how to pick clients, just so you know, which, by the way, if you guys have read my book, I'm talking about the buyers, the people who invest in, teams, infrastructure, whatever, and know how to close their own stuff. So yes, that model works, but it still only works if you know how to pick the right people. Having said that, the real benefit of doing it is your pricing so for example, in the beginning, we sold motorcycle case leads. It was a flat $2,000 per month service. I eventually raised it to $2,500, big pimpin', right? Like, and what I realized is I knew the exact cost per lead. It was about $10 no matter what market we ran it in, $10 to $12. And I know like attorneys without batting an eye would pay $40 for those leads. $40, $50. So we would turn around and just say, hey, we can get you motorcycle case leads for $40 a piece, and we could get like 100 plus of a month. Well, now all of a sudden, our $2,500 a month service is a $5,000 a month service on the low end, and can go all the way to 10, 20K a month, right? For the same exact thing, all because we just changed the risk and put it on ourselves. But again, you have to know how to pick clients, and I'll tell you, the way you pick clients is very simple. Do they already know how to sell and close without you? If the answer to that is yes, then work with them. If the answer is no, they're still going to fuck up fully vetted, fully qualified leads. So it only works for about 10, 20% of your market, just so you know. But if you know how to identify those people, one of the simplest ways is just try fucking calling them and pretend you're a lead and watch how long they take to get back to you. Anyways, hope that's helpful. So Vasu says, In the digital landscape, platforms such as Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and Instagram exert significant control over content, engagement, and audience. What constitutes a genuine digital asset that a business can truly own? While a website may seem like an obvious answer, its visibility often tied to Google algorithm. Thoughts? Firstly, so you got the right idea, okay? So I find the longer and more I do this, the more you understand money comes from control and ownership of assets, not from rendering services. By the way, buying and controlling digital assets is fucking easy once you know how and know what to look for, and almost nobody does it. That's a conversation for another day. If you guys want to find out about that, I wrote a whole book on that topic called Passive Automated Recurring Income. Read that, baby. It'll blow your mind. Anyways, yes, a website is an asset, especially if it is a systematic way of converting traffic that can be used for multiple people in an industry. So the biggest telltale sign for me, whether it's an asset or a customized piece, is if I took that exact same thing and gave it to someone else in a similar situation, would it work twice? If the answer to that question is yes, then you're onto something. As far as what you're describing as the other asset, you're really looking at two separate assets and in your mind combining them as one. One is what I would call a marketing asset, which is a website, and another is what you're calling a distribution asset, which is access to audience, eyeballs, etc. And I believe that if you want to make a lot of money, as many of you guys do on the internet, start with distribution. Do not start with sales. Okay? So I'm going to give you an example of this. And this is at the center of this crazy book I wrote. Okay? And this will explain to you guys, by the way, how I'm able to grow agencies faster than what most people do. Okay? So I'm going to show you a picture right here. This is two farmers. I gave them the name Andy and Bob, A and B. Okay? So this is what most people are, by the way. Andy is trying to sell eggs. And he is standing by the side of the road. And every day he's coming up with great offers and great hooks and putting out offers. And he's saying, buy my eggs, 2 for 1, organic, farm fresh, best eggs in town. And he's getting really good at closing. That's Andy. He believes, as most people do, that in business you should pursue sales directly. This is Bob. Bob believes, as Frankie Fihn does, that distribution is more valuable than money. So he understands that if I try and convince stores to sell my stuff, I'm probably, every time I convince a new store to sell my eggs, I got one more person out there in the world selling my eggs. Now, imagine, for example, that Bob gets Walmart to sell his eggs. Who do you think is going to sell more eggs, by the way? Andy, standing by the side of the road, or Bob, who gets his eggs sold in Walmart? And the answer is obviously Bob. Right? And the magic of it is that Bob is pursuing distribution first. So I'll give you a real-life example of this. There are literally millions of influencers out there on the internet who have acquired audiences that don't know at all how to monetize it. So Peter, for example, jumps to mind. He put together a deal where he went to a YouTube channel that had 800,000 subscribers, not monetizing or not doing enough, and put together a deal to help them sell a course or whatever. And by the way, it's a lot easier to sell a course when you start with 800,000 people watching. So what you're describing in terms of digital assets is, yes, a website is an asset, but I believe the ultimate asset is distribution, to own and control audiences and to know how to monetize them. And by the way, most people do not pursue distribution. They pursue sales. This is, by the way, why, like when I did the 90-day challenge, why would I go after an industry association first? Because getting in one industry association gives me access to tens of thousands of people. It's distribution. And they have a relationship with those people. Just like people trust Walmart that they're not going to fuck them over and that the price is going to be good, right? People in your industry, they have a trust factor that you don't have if you're starting from zero. So this is why I'm big on distribution. But it requires more strategic thinking. But as far as like your question about assets, there are plenty of digital assets in the form of distribution that are not Google, that are not Instagram, that are not YouTube, that are not, all the places you just named. Like you can buy an email list sometimes for pennies on the dollar and get access to a whole new audience of people. So that's probably a deeper topic for another day. I'm just going to say, like, read the damn book. Read the damn book. And if you guys, like, if you're too cheap, just send me a message and I'll send you a PDF copy of the book. You don't even have to pay for it. I'm, like, happy to let you just fucking read it. But I like physical books. And by the way, shout out to Scott Somerville, who has been recording the Audible version. I know a lot of you guys asked. We are coming up on the finish line on that. He was so kind enough to help us. So we're going to have an Audible version of that shortly for you guys. All right. Last question we got on the docket. Our man, Paul. Paul's new here. Welcome to the group, Paul. By the way, if you guys are dropping comments and shit, it doesn't always show up. Oh, I take that back. I see our man Cole's here. Buy my shit, my tag team partner. So Paul says, business model question. In the book, you talk about meetingless agencies and working within established businesses on back-end profits first. I've done both, productized services and high-touch growth consulting. Are these two different business models, or is there a way to combine the two approaches? When I work with established businesses, I have to be very hands-on and meet a lot to run a 4-day cash machine and fix back-end revenue generation. Is there a way to combine these two approaches? It'd be very interested in learning more. So, yes, these are two different business models, but no, they don't have to be. Okay? So what you're describing is high-touch growth consulting, which is like a very one-to-one personalized thing. And by the way, I'm not against 100% custom work, for the record, even though, like I wrote in my book, don't do custom shit. Where custom makes a lot of sense is when it's really, really high ticket. So like, for example, I know these guys in the legal space, they do custom consulting on your TV commercials, and they have a lot of experience working in TV and buying, and their consulting package is $100,000, right? For $100,000, fucking do some high touch consulting. I'm all for it, right? Where it goes wrong is when people do high touch work and it's $800, like a high touch $800 website, because the problem is you're never going to be able to remove yourself, and you're probably not going to make that much money doing it either. So it depends on what you want. Like, don't let me stand here and tell you you should want this or that. Where those two worlds overlap is very simple. Is the advice and consulting and high-touch stuff you're doing, would that benefit somebody else in a similar situation? And so often, I've mentioned this before, but we want our money to come from assets that we own and control, not from our efforts. So for example, I see this all the time where somebody is like a Google Ads specialist, and they will go through and they will create ads and they will run campaigns and they will launch landing pages and so forth. So say, for example, somebody's a Google Ads expert in the plumbing space, and they'll have to come up with which keywords should the plumbers target. They'll have to target, they'll have to figure out, which ads work the best. Is it fast? Is it cheapest? Is it, most expensive, premium plumber? Is it, we offer this service, we're specialized in that, whatever, right? So they test all those ad angles, and then they test different landing pages. And eventually, if they do that, and the client is cooperative in that, they will create a harmonious relationship. And what will happen is they will create a system that works for plumbers. And what most people then go and do is they go looking for a new Google Ads client, right? They'll go, how do I get a dentist? How do I get another? I was just at a BNI meeting. I saw a chiropractor. How do I get a chiropractor to buy into it? And my question is, would that system you built for the plumber benefit another plumber in almost the identical set of circumstances, but a different geography? And the answer is almost always yes. So why do we have to then try and reinvent the wheel and go get another client when we can start reselling our refined existing plumbing system? And here's the thing that nobody really thinks about. It's better for the clients. Do you think they want to hire you as your Google Ads person and spend 4 to 6 months refining ads, targeting, and landing pages? Or do you think they just want to buy a fucking system that already works for someone else that's plug and play or near plug and play and can be brought in for them and start winning for them almost immediately? And I'll give you my favorite example of where those worlds kind of cross is, Scott Tacholke is an awesome example of this. So Scott was running YouTube ads, and he was doing it for mostly the mortgage industry. And what happened is, because he's running YouTube ads, a lot of his mortgage clients didn't have videos or had poor quality ones. And so in order to run ads, he would have to get them to record. And so he would try and coach a mortgage broker on making videos. Well, half the time they never even made the fucking video. Of the 50% who did, they're often terrible. Terrible! Right? Hi, my name is Frankie's Mortgage. We are an XYZ mortgage company. We would like to help you with all of your mortgage needs. Right? That's a terrible fucking ad. And so Scott was struggling with making the system work, trying to figure out how to do that. And then one day he had an aha, which is, do I really need to actually have the mortgage broker in the ad? Or could I just make a video myself and drive them to a mortgage application and they would fill it out? And then when it worked, I would just pass the lead off to the broker. And so he decided to test this idea, and he made a video of himself. And so it's about, I don't know, I've seen the video. It's 60, 70 seconds long. It says why you may qualify for new mortgage rates and why you want to do this, and targets homeowners. And then he runs the ad. And then here's what happens, okay? Then it drives them to a little landing page, which is really just seeing if you qualify. Click this button, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you do qualify. No, you don't. And if it's qualified, it passes it off to the mortgage broker, and they get a notification call this motherfucker back as fast as humanly possible. Okay? Well, here's the magic of that, okay? The first time Scott does that, there's a lot of testing, there's a lot of figuring out. But the second time he does that, when he launches those campaigns for the next mortgage broker, he's able to use the exact same video. Literally exact same video. All they change is the end screen and where it clicks over to and the phone number, etc. Then he drives them to a landing page. Now that landing page is 90 to 95% finished before they start. He's got to update brand colors, a logo, a phone number. Takes him 5-10 minutes. So when a new client signs on, it used to be Scott would be back and forth with them for weeks trying to get a video. And now, just get me access to your ad account. They click a button, they're in. Now, Scott has launched campaigns. Those videos are up and running. They are generating leads, and they often get qualified leads within the first 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. So they literally sign up for Scott's service, and it starts working nearly immediately. My question to you is, which of those scenarios is better for the mortgage brokers? The, hey, I'm your custom high touch, help you figure out your video system, or just do you want me just to plug and play my system into your business? So where those worlds overlap for you, I don't necessarily know, but where I look is every time you create a single solution for a client, chances are you have created a digital asset that would work for somebody else if only you looked at it that way, and most people don't. Most people look at the real value is the client, not in the system, tool, resource I created. How can I get more value out of the resource? I'll tell you the other reason for this. It's very, very simple. Besides that, it's better for the clients. If you look at leverage, and leverage to me is really simple. If you look at your monetary return on energy investment, meaning how much shit do I got to do to make money? The monetary return on tools is exponentially high. The monetary return per energy on services is very low. This is why a lot of people can't scale services, because they're trying to sell services instead of trying to sell reuse assets and tools and things that they created. And so if you understand this, I just say get out of the services game entirely and start asking yourself, what tool am I creating here? Who else would this benefit? How could they use that? And so I've actually taken the initiative lately. I'm doing some tests on what I call AI micro tools. I create little tools for clients. And in doing so, I just say, hey, what's some boring, repetitive shit you got to do all the time? Let me create a custom tool that'll solve that for you. And all I ask for is one thing, or I ask for two things. I say, if there's software needed, you're going to sign up with my affiliate link. And two, I own the rights to this. I can resell this 1 billion times. This is my tool, my system. They're like, yeah, okay, go ahead. You want to build me some shit for free? Go for it. Solve this problem, solve that problem. And now I'm able to hands-on create tools that I can sell 1 million times. Now, why would I create a tool for somebody for free? Because I can sell it 1 million fucking times with no fulfillment. No fulfillment, by the way. I can rent that tool out like a landlord rents a house. I can rent out over and over and over and over with zero fulfillment. So I'm ranting on this a little bit just because there is an overlap in those worlds. If you're doing high-touch consulting, like chances are you're creating solutions. The real value, besides the client paying you, is the solution you've created. Who else could benefit from it? It almost always, I'll tell you, it hit me like a ton of bricks. One of my mentors said to me one time, so I got to hang out with him in South Carolina. His name's Ken. And we hung up for like 4 months straight. And him and I worked together for years and years. But I got to be next to him day to day and see him every day for like 4 months. And here's a guy who does 10 million plus in multiple different businesses. And I never saw him work. We'd go to the country club and we'd eat and we'd schmooze. And then he's like, okay, we're going to do some karaoke. And then he's like, okay, we're going to go to the golf course now. And then he'd be like, okay, we're going to go on the boat and do some fishing. And it's like, Ken, when do you do the business? How are you able to live like this? This just defies all reasoning for me. And he said something that immediately hit me like a ton of bricks. He said, well, buddy, basically I like to do things you can do them once and get paid for them again and again. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because when he said it, I had a lot of active income, but all of it was the do once, get paid once variety. And I knew if I stopped doing shit, my money would go to zero. And I didn't have anything that was do once, get paid again and again when he first said it. It hit me so hard. And I was like, man, I need to have some do once, get paid again and again stuff. And the ironic thing is, I was sitting on a mountain of solutions I had created, but because I was in the middle class mindset of trying to get hired, trying to get clients, trying to get people to pay me, to hire me, I didn't recognize all the tools and resources and assets. And what's changed for me over 10 years is now I do. And I like to find more and more uses for tools that help people, because every time I do, a new revenue stream is created that I don't have to do shit, and it helps more people. So there's no right or wrong way. Just so you know, do what fucking works for you. Don't let me be the guy to tell you only this way works. I really fucking hate that. Can I just say that I hate when gurus on the internet, like the cold outreach guys, all tell you have to do cold outreach. No, that's our way. I'm telling you our way that has worked for us. I'm not telling you the way. There's 1,000 ways to be successful, and there's a million ways to fail. So a lot of what I hope to help you guys do is not have to venture into the million ways to fail, because I've dabbled and played with a lot of those different ways to hopefully save you guys some of the misery of that. But there's 1,000 ways to succeed. So I've found for us, if what you're after is a sort of lifestyle business where it works for you and for your clients, but it's very high leverage, meaning you don't spend all fucking day working, all day doing shit, then the way to do that is with tools, assets, resources. And chances are your high touch consulting has already built those. It's just a question of where they are. It was a real big aha for me that and I'll give you an example of this. So we had a guy in our mastermind, and I never ended up selling this because it was just I don't know, whatever. We got sidetracked. But he said to me, I've spent the last 5 years refining this SEO system, and now we finally have it as a process, a step-by-step thing. And I said, do you think other SEO agencies would benefit from that? And he said, oh, yeah, for sure, my system. And I said, well, would you be open to selling it to other people who are not in the same industry as you? So he worked in legal. And I was like, hey, if we sell to somebody who does this for dentists who's not even competing with you, would you be open to that? And he was like, yeah. And of course, it just confirms my point. He's sitting on a mountain of assets, right? He had to create the system to rank. Other people could benefit from that exact same system with no deliverability. Just copy and paste this shit from my project management system to yours. And here you go. You got the whole fucking swipe and deploy system. So anyways, that is my way of saying if you want to get out of high touch shit, the first time you build anything, it's going to be high touch, but it doesn't have to be the second time. That's the real leverage. It's not the first time. There's no leverage in the first time you build it. No matter how you do it, building a system is work. But there is leverage the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth time. And it's, well, buddy, I like to do things once that I can get paid for again and again. And I didn't realize I was doing shit once and getting paid once. And you probably are too, Paul, which is why I'm ranting on this. But you can do once and get paid twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6, 7, 8. And when you start to do that, you'll realize it's better for the people you serve. That's the crazy thing. It's better for the people you serve. Because just like Scott found out when he was trying to make a custom video for everybody and trying to get everybody to make videos, That's way harder to do, and it's worse for the clients than just let me take my working asset, his video, his landing page, 2 assets. Let me stick them into your account. They will start working for you and performing for you nearly immediately. Try it out. So anyways, that's all I got for you guys as far as questions in this one. I want to just give a little shout out. I mentioned as before that I put together a little document with ways we can potentially work together if you guys are interested in getting some help on this stuff. And just so you guys know, we are working on insanely cool shit. At least what I think is insanely cool shit is I found, so like, I mentioned the golf course earlier of like, this is what everybody else is doing is they're like, how do I sell the hardest to sell people 450 yards from the hole? I'm working on how do I create cash, easy cash right over here, right by the hole, and getting AI to do the heavy lifting, including creating the offers, messaging people, doing all the follow-up. So we're creating systems so that artificial intelligence right here creates easy money for clients, which also creates easy money for us. And there is literally nothing to do. So I'm mapping all that out with some pretty advanced tools, go high level, close bot, things like that. But we're going to have it set up where literally push a button, cash appears for clients and cash appears for you. And it's easy to sell because you don't even have to, because there's no work and there's no risk. You don't even have to demand a retainer. You can run it for 10 people and say, hey, just pay me after it works. And you're doing the cash collecting, by the way, so you control all of that. Not them collecting and then hoping they pay you. You're collecting the cash and go, okay, here's your share, here's my share. You're the one in control of that scenario. So anyways, if you guys are interested in checking that out, I wouldn't say that's fully built, but we're a few weeks away. We're running some beta tests in a couple of different markets. Spencer and I are doing like a real estate version of that. I also have like a online coaching version of that we're testing out. It's pretty exciting times. Is that we're like, I'm taking that to the extreme where the tools are generating the revenue, not us. And a lot of it is really, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the story where there's a guy who gets called in for the hot water heater and he comes in to fix it and he listens for a second and then he hits it and then he hands him a bill for $100 and says, there you go, it's good as new. And the lady goes like, $100, you were here for 2 seconds. How can you and he rewrites the bill. He goes, oh, my mistake. He rewrites it and he goes, hitting it for 1 second, $1, 10 years of learning exactly where to hit it, $99. In other words, like my expertise of knowing where to hit it. And what we're really talking about is knowing where to hit it. Everybody else, by the way, the reason why they're over here is because this is what clients tell them they need and want. But the actual real money, by the way, is over here. In the same way that, like, just like in the NFL, like when you make all your points, right? Like that last yard on the field is the most valuable fucking yard on the field. Same thing on the golf course. Like, okay, people, they have a saying in golf. They say driving is for show, putting's for dough. Leads for show. Conversion, this is what most businesses actually suck at. So we're addressing their real problem and doing it in a way where we're generating revenue on that. So I'll be looking for some people to beta test some of the tools and stuff we're creating, but I'm hell of excited about it personally. And having more of like AI do the heavy lifting. And part of the reason it's able to do that is because we're dealing with warmer audiences that are close to the hole. Just like I mentioned earlier, Mark Diodati, for those of you guys who missed it, instead of selling strangers off the street with HVAC, he just simply followed up with the people who got a proposal and didn't buy it. That's somebody who's like, 440 yards up the golf course. They clicked the ad. They read the website. They read the Google reviews. They picked up the phone. They called the person. They waited at their house. They met the person. They stood there. They talked to him for 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes. They had a back and forth. And then they simply said, not ready to buy it right now. And then that, like most businesses, they give up and they go looking for a new stranger. And we're going, hey, if I could put that guy in for you, and I just did it as a commission salesperson, would you be open to paying me for that? And then I'm bringing in AI tools to finish what is used to be done manually. So anyways, that's exciting times. I'm bragging a little bit, but I'm excited about it. If those of you guys are interested in checking those things out, click on the old link. That's all I got for you guys this week. Much love. Appreciate you guys. Let's have a little outro here. I don't know if it'll still play out of my speaker, but let's try it. Gather round. Your questions matter. Let's break it down. We Q&A.
Let's bring the flame.
That's 100% AI, by the way. Artists, I fear for you. Because we have whole songs, by the way, that are made entirely with artificial intelligence, and many of them are like radio quality. You're like, no fucking way is this good. Anyways, that's it. Happy Monday. Appreciate you guys. May the force be with you. Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, like actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint and everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.